Hello, this is Max Mead and welcome to the Sci-Fi Crate tutorial fast run through here at Montfort University's Game Art course. I will be working at regular speed and talking as I work. For a slower, more detailed breakdown for this project, see the full-length Sci-Fi Crate tutorial video. Okay, so first off I'm just going to create some reference planes to work from. So I know that these are square texture, so I'm just going to make them 100 centimeters wide. And 100 centimeters tall. So I can use this plane in 4 different views. So I could use it for the front, for the back, for the sides, and for the top. So I'm just going to call this at the moment ref front because we're in the front viewport. And I'm just going to convert that to an editable poly. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply material to that. Let's get rid of those. And we're just going to add standard material and apply that. Okay, call that ref front. Go to maps and diffuse color. We're just going to go ahead and find out where we've saved this. So the course has provided you with reference planes for the different viewports for the crate. So you can find those in concept and we can just drag those in. So I'm just going to go ahead and double click that. And I'm going to make this full screen. So this is the sort of speed that you should be working at as you develop your skills. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this so that we can get the side views. So we'll just change that name to ref side. Okay, and we obviously want to change this texture so we actually have the side view on. So we just drag that down, left click and drag, and we're going to change it to ref side. So we've changed that material. We now just need to apply the other material to that. Okay, so there you go. We have our sides, we have our front. Let's get the back texture. So I'm going to flip that around, the front one around 180 degrees, and I'm going to change that to back. And again, I'm just going to drag this down, change this texture to back. And with this new material, I'm just going to go ahead, drag that out so we don't actually copy over it, and drag it on. So we now have our back, front, side. All we need now is our top viewport. So we'll put this to top, drag that down, and again top. Okay, great. So another thing we actually want to do to these textures, we just want to make them 100% luminous so that we can always see them no matter what the lighting situation is. So by just doing that, we drag it to the top of the material, and self-illumination we're going to take to 100. The reason we're doing this is just so that we can view them regardless of sort of what angle we're looking at. Okay, so I'm just going to drag those down so we can get them out of the way. So we got a back, and we've got a front. So I'm going to freeze those. So object, we're going to go to Objects Properties, Show Frozen in Grey, turn that off, and we're going to freeze. So now we can't select those, so we can just carry on working. Okay. So let's go ahead and start creating this. We're going to create a box, a cube, and we're just going to make it around about the yay big. So I'm going to drag that down to about 85. Okay, a little bit too small. Let's just drag that up to 90. So it's an iterative process, so we're going to keep going in and changing and making sure things look right. You shouldn't follow a concept directly, because generally speaking, you'll have to make some changes as an artist. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag this up, and I'm going to go ahead and create these bottom faces. So I'm beveling, and I'm going to drag those in a little bit more, and then extrude down from that. And bevel again. And bevel with the same amount, so it's a nice sort of stepped process. We'll turn on edge faces so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to connect those. I'm going to chamfer with 2 segments. And you may notice if you watch both of these videos that I might be doing different techniques, but this is just the the sort of run through that I would actually use for creating an object like this. It doesn't have to be, everyone works in sort of different ways, so don't take it as 100% value. And it's pretty much whatever you're more comfortable with doing. Okay. So, excuse me. Right. I'm just going to drag those in. Okay, so that looks alright. We've already got the majority of our crate already assembled. So I'm just going to go ahead and press Alt X and make that invisible. And I'm just going to select all those faces and I'm going to insert them. Okay. The reason I'm doing this is I'm going to create this sort of interior bevel that we've got. I'm going to change the design a bit. I'm just going to drag that down a little bit more. Okay, so let's bevel these in. Oh, I've accidentally not selected all of those. Let's try and drag those up so they match. Okay. Yeah, select all of those, but now we can bevel those in. Actually, I'm gonna leave this for a second, and I'm just gonna connect up these corner edges, and also do the top face. So I'm gonna insert, and I'm just gonna connect, and this will save me from actually having to do a little bit more work later on. So get rid of the bottom faces because we don't need those selected, and the top faces. Great. So we'll do that for the sides as well. Connect. Just going to move the crate back so we can see over the top. Great. Just going to put these in the middle because we're going to do a little technique now where we just select all of those and we're just going to chamfer those so we can actually get some length, some width on them. Okay, so there you go. And we're just going to go ahead and just quickly connect these up. So I'm just going to connect these two sides, connect those, and basically what we're doing here is getting rid of the N-gons. And it's good to just to do this as we work, so we don't have to go through and change. And sometimes the engine will actually sort these out for you, but they can give undesirable results. So by actually creating quads yourself, we're avoiding some of the hassle from later on. Yeah, I'm just going to connect the top up as well because we've also got a support structure here. Okay, it's the same sort of chamfer, so we're just going to go ahead and click OK, and I'm going to go and target weld these into the corners. So as you can see, it shouldn't take you that long at all. This is a sort of a really simple object to do, and we can crank this out in around about half an hour. And depending on the level of finish you want, it may take longer for the textures and the unwrap, etc. Okay, so just going to drag those down a little bit more. Okay, great. So there you go. That's the majority of the crate done. We're just going to go ahead and add in these sort of final little bits of detail. So we need to look at the left viewport and the right viewport, and we're going to add in those handles. So we're just going to inset. Okay, and we're going to drag up these bottom edges. And the reason we're doing this is just so that they can fit together nicely. There you go. It's good to have a sort of a nice sense of scale, so like you be able to recognize when something looks right or wrong. So I can just sort of judge. I don't particularly need to know the exact measurements. I'm just judging that looks like far enough into the handle. Okay, so let's actually add in the handle that we can grasp onto. So I'm just going to add in a box. I'm going to look at the rough sort of dimensions by looking on the side, and I'm just going to change that back to a box. Drag that up. Looks around about square. We can actually make that perfect if we want. Yeah, There you go, nice rectangular. And we drag that in. Okay, so we can get rid of the faces that we're not going to see. And we do this as we work, because you're not going to see them. We don't actually need those in there. And I'm actually just going to chamfer those edges quickly and give it a little bit of a nicer appearance. Okay, that looks alright. And we can just quickly just sort of drag that along the x-axis and position it on the other side. There you go, we have two handles. So let's create these top hinges and brackets. Okay, so let's go to the front viewport. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a box. We're going to use auto grid and we're going to draw straight onto that. So I'm just going to make it invisible so we know the dimensions. And I'm just going to drag that down and out. Okay, so it's a bit of a funny angle, and that's probably because of the smoothing groups that we have. But we can, rather than sort of remaking that, we can just use the rotate button to try and line that up. And again, it doesn't need to be perfect. Some sort of quirky and neat aspects might actually help you, or help pull off the design. So let's move that around. I mean, don't follow the concept religiously. I'm just going to go ahead and copy these, chamfer these edges. Alright, and I just need to add the actual connection part. So I'm just going to connect it, chamfer it, and go ahead and select all of those edges and bevel inwards. And reducing the bevel will allow us to actually change those. So I want to isolate that so I can look at the back faces, and we don't need those because we are not actually going to see them, so let's delete those. Okay, so there we have one of our handles. So again, we can just copy that over and we can add that in. And it's a good idea to actually name all of these things as we go, but because I'm in a little bit of a rush, I've neglected that. So I'm just going to go ahead and name things while I'm just having a look around. Okay, so we've got handles. And these are all going to be attached to one mesh anyway, so it doesn't particularly matter at this point. But it's good, especially if you have lots of objects, to name things earlier on. Okay, handle and handle. Okay, great. Let's add the last sort of little bits of detail. So we need to add in these corner sort of hinge parts. So cylinder, I'm going to take down the height segments and I'm going to take down the sides. Okay, and I'm just going to roughly guess that looks about right, and I'm just going to pull it out. Okay, so this is the part where the mesh is actually going to turn from. So that looks okay. And we'll do the same for the other side, so we're just going to drag that along. Okay, so that looks about right. Let's go ahead and add these bottom faces. So I'm just going to go ahead and press B for bottom. Create a rectangle. We're going to about 12 by 12 by 12. I'll actually create a square, and then what we can do is we can look on the view. See that looks about right. Convert to editable poly. We're going to delete that top face. Okay, so the face is deleted, and now we can go ahead and we can hit collapse. So we'll create a nice sort of pyramid shape that we can work from. Okay, so that looks alright. I'm just going to drag and copy this into the various corners of the box. Okay, so that's all pretty much done. Let's just go ahead and attach all of these objects as one piece. So there you go. We have our very basic crate. I'm going to go and clear all and auto smooth it, just with a slightly less high angle. And that way we've got sort of those individual faces that we want. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag these, or copy these edge pieces. And make sure they're all selected. And the reason I'm doing this is because we want a sort of nice soft chamfer on those edges. Okay, they're all selected. Great. So we've got some sort of problems with the edges being in the way there, so we're just going to get rid of some of those. And we can always add these in afterwards. So delete those by holding Control and pressing backspace. Okay, so they'll have to have one on them, but that's fine. So press loop again, chamfer, and okay, we can probably work from that. Just going to go and tidy that up a little bit. With the connection tool. And make sure we do that on all of the sides. Okay. Okay, so that's the modelling done. Let's go straight on to the unwrap. So go to modify list and hit unwrap, and we're just going to really quickly show you how fast we can actually get through this. Okay, so if we actually just take the individual elements first of all, and that might be easier for us to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my own edge. So we've got edge selection on. Turn off back faces so we can actually select them, and convert edge selection to seam. Okay, so we're just going to planar map those and quickly pelt them. So you can either do that, or we can go in and we can go quick pelt. Okay, so that's the handles done. And we'll next we'll do these. So we're just going to select those edges, and we are just going to do it along the x-axis so they're all overlapping with one another. And now what we can do is we can go in and we can select one of those edges, convert to seam, sorry, planar and quick pelt. So there you go, we have two of them there, both unwrapped in the same area as well. So the last individual pieces we have are these bottom sort of feet, and we are just going to quickly planar those, and we are right, and that should have worked. Just need to rotate those and we're done. So there you go, we've got the majority of our models already unwrapped. So we need to go ahead and we'll make these indented pieces first of all. The reason we're going to unwrap these separately is because if we try to unwrap the whole face together, we'd have weird stretching, and we want to try and avoid that. So where we have a sharp angle, we can actually make a new UV island. And what this will do is it will try and disguise the fact that it is not actually all in one sort of unwrap. So it's good to try and put your seams where you're less likely to notice them. Go ahead and we're going to quick peel those. Great. And just do the handles next. Because we've deleted these back faces, what we can do is we can literally just peel that as well. I might actually just pelt that and then polygon angles. Means it's slightly less skewed. Sometimes quick peel isn't the most efficient option. And the reason we use a peel is because it generally keeps the faces the same sort of size as they actually are. So we're trying to make sure that our checker pattern remains relatively square. So if you notice on the top and on the pieces that we've actually unwrapped, we all have square checker patterns, which is great. So this bottom face, we are just going to go ahead and unwrap that quickly. So planar it with the Z axis selected, and we accidentally copied one of the top faces, but that doesn't matter because we can actually go in and change that. Okay, so we have the top faces selected now. Go ahead and planar map. It's actually a good idea just to planar map that quickly and then peel it. So now we have this sort of nice chamfered edge. So if they were on top of each other, then this space here wouldn't actually have any texture information. It would all be stretched because it would be on top of each other. So the reason we do that is to allow us to actually texture that part of our. Okay, so now we're going to actually unwrap the main sides of our crate. So we're just going to take a look around and make sure everything looks alright. Yep. And we can just very, very quickly go ahead and use planar map, and we're going to planar map it on the x-axis. Looks alright. And what we're going to do is we're just going to drag that down so we're getting rid of these edge faces, so the faces that aren't actually unwrapped. And then we're going to go ahead and planar map that, and we're going to planar map that along the y-axis. So there you go, we now have our two pieces unwrapped. And we could further refine this by relaxing it. So relaxing would be useful if we were finding that these didn't have enough space. They didn't have the appropriate amount of space to actually be able to texture on them. But because we've beveled them inwards, you can actually see them from straight on. So we don't actually need to do that. So they're now perfectly aligned on top of each other. So actually a much more efficient technique for actually unwrapping this. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to scale some of these things down. And we're going to try and make this all fit as one texture. Okay. So I'm just going to select all of these pieces, rescale them, and shrink them down so that they're all in the same relevant scale to each other. And then it just needs to be scaled down a little bit more to fit in with the surrounding pieces. And now it's just a matter of actually just fitting these in. And I put all of the sort of like peggy legs in the same texture space because they're always going to be the same, and they don't need to actually share their own texture space at all. Okay. So let's drag that in a bit more. And we're just filling up this empty space. I mean, we don't want stuff right on top of each other, but we do want to give it its generally its own space. Okay, so I'm just going to rotate this by 90 degrees, sorry. And just so it fits, and so you can rotate things around to make them fit, but generally you don't want to make them on a diagonal, because we'll have actual problems looking at those later, and you'll find that you'll get jagged edges when you're trying to unwrap. So make sure that this all sort of fits in nicely, and we want to make sure it fits in within sort of its own square. Okay, keep losing the viewport. Straighten that up a little bit, and we'll shrink it down because it doesn't need to be that important. And there you go, we should be able to fit everything in there. So different things can be scaled depending on their purpose. So there you go, we've pretty much done our unwrap. So now I'll be moving on to onto the texturing. So I'll see you in the next part.